People ask me, or they say to me, you must be very patient. In fact, it's more a fear of failure. The prospect of going home without a picture in the bag is something I find quite terrifying. That's where the real terror is. So I'll sit it out, and I'll experience a lot of discomfort in order to get the picture. It's not always easy to plan the trips. We have to do a tremendous amount of research. When I went into the Amazon to photograph the wild macaws and parrots, we went on a boat ride for about 3 days. We camped in the jungle. It was incredibly hot and humid, and we went out at about 5 o'clock in the morning. There's a very short window of time when the birds fly to the clay lick. They take the clay from the cliffs, and they get a lot of nourishment for it, and it's also a great place for socializing. They all gather there. The light's gone for the morning. We've lost the good light, but in the last couple of minutes I managed to get one absolutely fabulous shot, flat shot, from closer. One of the most spectacular sights is the annual migration of 1 million wildebeest and zebras. When they follow the rainfall and they cross the Mara River. The river's usually full of crocodiles and rocks, and they trip over each other and they drown, and it's an incredibly dangerous thing. But to watch this happen is a most incredibly spectacular and often very tragic sight. There have been some scary moments. I was charged by a rhinoceros in India, and the rhino swerved, fortunately, and narrowly missed our vehicle. I actually managed to photograph it. When I took this picture of the bear running towards the camera, it was in Brooks River in Alaska. I emailed it to my wife when I got back to the hotel, and a little while later I said to her, "Weren't you afraid when you saw this picture of the bear running straight towards the camera?" She said, "Well, not really, because if you were able to email it, you must have been fine." In fact, the bear was fishing for salmon. When I first started photographing wildlife, I was quite complacent. I thought I had plenty of time to go around the world and to photograph all the different animals. And one of the first trips I did, I went along the Sekonya River in Borneo to photograph orangutans. And I noticed that the river was a horrible, dirty brown color. And that was caused by mercury, and the animals were being poisoned by this. It struck me then that we are destroying the environment at an alarming rate. Up in the Arctic, the polar bears' behavior has been affected by toxins which have been carried in the winds and have been absorbed into their bodies. When I went to Antarctica, I saw the world's largest iceberg. It was the size of Belgium. It was floating freely. Now, the sad fact is that the penguins' ability to feed has been affected by that. They have to go a long way around the iceberg to bring back fish for their young. So there's been a high mortality rate. You cannot help but become an environmentalist after you've experienced something like that and realize just how important it is to protect and preserve their habitats. When you travel somewhere like Antarctica, your perspective really does change. It's almost like going to another world. It's one of the most beautiful places. It really makes you realize that there is something way beyond the world that we inhabit, something very special, and it gives you a tremendous sense of your own place in the world and how important you are, but in another sense how small and insignificant. Our ship was a city in its own right. It had a kitchen, and we baked bread in it every day, and we had a lounge and a cinema and so on. It was very comfortable. But it was actually a tiny little dot, all alone and vulnerable, completely surrounded by ice. So we went up to quite a high altitude, and I photographed it from that high altitude. And, that really reminded me of how fragile we all are. By recognizing and seeing what exists outside our cities, I hope that it will spur people to protect the environment and to realize the importance of it. Perhaps by capturing something of the beauty of it, people will feel compelled to protect and preserve that beauty.